Welcome, witches and wizards, to a peaceful journey into the magical world of Harry Potter. If you're ready to unwind and drift off to sleep, you're in the perfect place. Tonight, we'll explore the enchanted halls of Hogwarts, uncovering magical facts about your favorite characters, spells, and creatures. Before we begin, if you're enjoying the magic already, don't forget to give this video a like. Your support helps bring more calming content your way. Let yourself relax as we dive into hours of Hogwarts lore, all paired with soothing nature sounds and soft music to guide you into a restful sleep. One of the most fascinating aspects of Harry Potter is the way magic works within the universe. Magic in the wizarding world is governed by rules and limitations, making it feel grounded, even though it's fantastical. One of the most interesting magical concepts is wizarding currency, which is made up of 3 types of coins: galleons, sickles, buy, and nuts. The exchange rate between these coins reflects the everyday needs of wizards. Galleons are the most valuable and used for larger purchases, while sickles and nuts are for smaller transactions. J.K. Rowling even imagined a full-fledged system of economics for the magical world, adding an extra layer of realism to the universe. Another key element of magic is its reliance on wands. Wands are not just instruments of power, but are extensions of the witch or wizard who wields them. The process of selecting a wand is deeply personal. As Harry discovered when he visited Ollivanders, each wand has a Corphenix feather, dragon heartstring, or unicorn hair that gives it unique magical properties. The core of a wand can actually influence the way it performs magic, which is why some wands are better suited for certain types of spells. Pari's wand, with its phoenix feather core, is particularly significant because it shares the same core as Voldemort's wand, setting the stage for their connection throughout the series. But wands are just the beginning. The magical world is full of enchanted objects that make life a little easier or more dangerous, depending on how they're used. One of the most iconic magical items in Harry Potter is the Time Turner, a device used for time travel, introduced in The Prisoner of Azkaban. The Time Turner allows a witch or wizard to travel back in time to relive moments or change events. It's a perfect example of the intricacies of the magical world while it offers tremendous power, it also comes with significant risks. In the hands of the wrong person, the consequences of tampering with time can be disastrous, reminding us that magic should never be taken lightly, in contrast to the Time Turner's potential for chaos. There's something about the Room of Requirement that embodies the mystery and wonder of Hogwarts. This hidden room, which only appears when it's truly needed, is a symbol of how Hogwarts adapts to the needs of its students. Whether it's a safe space to hide, a secret meeting room, or a room filled with magical items, the Room of Requirement is a place of infinite possibilities. It's as if the castle itself has a mind of its own, always responding to the needs of the people inside it. We also can't forget about the important magical creatures that populate the wizarding world. Many of them, like the Hippogriff, the Thestral, and the House Elf, play crucial roles in the series. Take Buckbeak, For instance, Buckbeak, the majestic creature that Harry and his friends encounter in The Prisoner of Azkaban, is a symbol of the importance of respecting all creatures, no matter their form. Hippogriffs are proud creatures, and their willingness to accept a human depends on the respect shown to them. Buckbeak's refusal to bow to Draco Malfoy and the subsequent consequences speak to the larger theme of respect in the series. Did you know that the Harry Potter series was almost a completely different story? J.K. Rowling first came up with the idea for Harry while on a train ride from Manchester to London. But she originally envisioned Harry's parents being alive and him being a normal student in a normal school. It wasn't until later that she decided to give him the tragic backstory of losing his parents and growing up with a Speaking of the Dursleys, their house number is 4, but in the books, it is made very clear that their house is on Privet Drive, a street where nothing particularly magical happens yet in the film adaptations. Many scenes were filmed in a suburban area in the UK that has become a popular pilgrimage site for fans. The exterior of the Dursley house in the films is actually located at 12 Picket Post Close in Bracknell, Berkshire. Now, let's talk about the Sorting Hat. This magical hat that's responsible for choosing. A student's house at Hogwarts has a long history. The Sorting Hat was originally one of the 4 founders of Hogwarts: Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin, who each contributed their intelligence, bravery, and characteristics into the hat's magical essence. The hat's song, which it sings during the sorting ceremony, was always improvised, which is quite impressive for a hat. The house cup itself is a highly coveted prize at Hogwarts, and it's not just a matter of doing well in classes or winning Quidditch matches. Bear every good deed, every positive contribution in a class, every act of bravery, every bit of helpfulness to a fellow student is rewarded with points. But, as Harry found out, it's not always that easy to win the House Cup. With the rivalry between Gryffindor and Slytherin, especially during his years at school, it became more than just a competition. It was about pride, legacy, and even a bit of strategic mischief. Another fact you might not know is that the Harry Potter books are one of the most translated books in the world. As of today, the series has been translated into over 80 languages, from Albanian to Zulu, which shows just how universal its appeal is. Oof. And speaking of global reach, the books weren't always as famous as they are now. In fact, it took a lot of convincing to get the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which was first published in the UK to make it to America. When it was released there, it was renamed Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone due to fears that Americans wouldn't understand what a Philosopher's Stone was. The American publishers also thought that the word philosopher was too intellectual for children, which might have been true at the time. The success of the books led to a film series, which began in 2001. The casting of Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley turned out to be spot on, with Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint bringing the iconic trio to life. But did you know that Daniel Radcliffe wasn't actually J.K. Rowling's first choice for Harry Potter? She didn't think that the young actor was the right fit at first, but after meeting him and seeing how he brought the character to life, she was convinced. In fact, during auditions, Emma Watson almost didn't get the role of Hermione because she was so focused on getting every line right. It wasn't until she relaxed and allowed herself to enjoy the experience that she truly shone. Another piece of trivia you might enjoy is that each actor had to undergo extensive training for their roles. Rupert Grint, who played Ron, had to learn how to ride a broomstick and play wizard's chess. Emma Watson spent months working on her accent for the role of Hermione. And Daniel Radcliffe had to spend time learning how to fight with a wand, preparing for all the dueling scenes. That would be a major part of his character's journey. And here's something that might surprise you. The invisibility cloak, which Harry inherited from his father, was inspired by J.K. Rowling's love of the Lord of the Rings. The cloak of invisibility from Harry Potter shares striking similarities to the one that Bilbo Baggins finds in Tolkien's famous fantasy series. And both cloaks are considered one of the ultimate magical items within their respective worlds. We can't forget about the magical creatures that live within the Harry Potter universe. Some are well known, like house elves and centaurs, but others are a bit more obscure. For example, the Thestrals, the skeletal winged horses that pull the carriages to Hogwarts, can only be seen by those who have witnessed death firsthand. Their first appearance, as chilling as it is, highlights one of the darker themes of the series: how we deal with loss, grief, and the harsh realities of life. Speaking of darker themes, let's talk about Lord Voldemort, the Dark Lord who terrorized the wizarding world. The name Voldemort is actually derived from the French word volume de mort, which means flight of death. The name itself reflects his fear of mortality and his desire for eternal life, which led him to commit horrendous acts, including the use of dark magic. Interestingly, Voldemort's fear of death was what made him the perfect villain for Harry, whose own journey was largely defined by love, loss, and the acceptance of death as part of life. And did you know that the magic in the Harry Potter universe follows rules based on ancient mythologies and folklore? For example, the concept of Horcruxes, objects in which dark wizards store pieces of their souls to achieve immortality, is actually rooted in ancient practices of soul binding and preservation. J.K. Rowling expertly weaves these real-world inspirations into her magical world, giving it an eerie sense of depth and authenticity. Let's wrap this up with a few more fun facts. Did you know that the Weasley family's wizarding joke shop, Weasley's Wizard Wheezers, was inspired by J.K. Rowling's own sense of humor? The idea for the joke shop came from her love of mischievous humor and the importance of family. The shop's name also plays on the word wheeze, reflecting the fun and trouble the twins get into. So, whether you're a Gryffindor at heart, a cunning Slytherin, a wise Ravenclaw, or a loyal Hufflepuff, the world of Harry Potter continues to enchant and inspire millions. From its deep connections to real-world history and mythology, to the unforgettable characters that have become icons of modern literature, the legacy of Harry Potter is one that will last for generations to come. Let's dive deeper into the magical world, starting with one of the most iconic characters of the series, Albus Dumbledore. Did you know that Dumbledore's first name, Albus, comes from the Latin word albus, which means white? This name choice was symbolic, representing his wisdom, purity, and role as the beacon of hope for the wizarding world. Interestingly, Dumbledore's full name, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, was created with an intention to make him sound as if he were a man of great stature, wisdom, and perhaps even a bit eccentric. Rowling once admitted that she chose Dumbledore's last name because it sounded a lot like the Old English word for bumblebee. She thought it suited his character because, like a bumblebee, Dumbledore was always buzzing about and deeply involved in all sorts of activities. It's also worth noting that Dumbledore's position as headmaster wasn't just ceremonial. He was a powerful wizard and a key figure in the fight against Voldemort. But he also had his own struggles. Dumbledore was not always the wise, calm figure we see in the books. In his youth, he was known for his ambition and thirst for power, which led him to make mistakes that would haunt him for the rest of his life, especially his relationship with Gellert Grindelwald, his former friend and later rival. The depth of Dumbledore's character, his flaws, and his redemption arc are one of the series' most powerful themes, showing that even the most powerful and wise figures have their demons. Another fun fact is that the wizarding world had its own version of the Olympic game, Balt, instead of regular sports. The competition was centered around magical events. The most famous magical competition is the Triwizard Tournament, a dangerous and thrilling event that pits 3 schools against each other: Oaks-Batten's Academy of Magic and Durmstrang Institute. The Triwizard Cup was not just a competition of strength, but also intelligence, bravery, and resourcefulness. Of course, as we know from the 4th book, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, things went terribly wrong in that tournament, with Harry becoming an unwilling participant and facing deadly trials. Yet, the event remains one of the most iconic and dangerous competitions in wizarding history. You might be surprised to learn that the magical world's perception of time and history is significantly different from ours. For instance, wizards have their own methods of tracking history, and some things, right, the rise and fall of Voldemort seem to be erased or deliberately forgotten by the wizarding community. The Ministry of Magic's Department of Magical Law Enforcement actively works to suppress the details of dark wizard activities, especially in the case of Voldemort's first reign of terror. A chilling fact is that many witches and wizards didn't even acknowledge the return of Voldemort at first, which allowed his influence to spread much faster than expected. The reluctance to face the truth is a recurring theme in the series, with characters like Harry, Hermione, and Ron always pushing for the truth to come out, even when it is difficult or dangerous. Speaking of the Ministry of Magic, the wizarding government has a fascinating bureaucracy. There's a department for nearly every aspect of magical life. From the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures to the Department of Mysteries, which is shrouded in secrecy. But one department stands out as particularly interesting: the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes. This department handles magical mishaps, such as the time Arthur Weasley, a member of the Weasley family and a key character in the series, was injured while investigating Muggle inventions. There's even a sub-department that deals with accidental magical usage, often caused by young witches and wizards who can't yet control their powers, something that Harry knows all too well. Now, let's talk about the magical objects in the Harry Potter series, many of which have become iconic symbols of the series. Take, for example, the Marauders map. This enchanted map was created by James Potter. Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew during their time at Hogwarts. The map not only shows the entire layout of Hogwarts, but also reveals the precise location of everyone within the school, including secret passages. It's a perfect example of how clever and mischievous Hogwarts students can be. The Marauders map even comes with a few words of caution. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. This cheeky phrase became a symbol of defiance and fun for Harry and his friends, who used the map to explore Hogwarts in ways that were usually off. One magical object that has intrigued fans for years is the Time Turner, a magical device that allows a witch or wizard to travel back in time. Hermione Granger famously used it in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban to attend multiple classes at once, but it also played a pivotal role in saving Sirius Black and Buckbeak. Time travel in the wizarding world isn't without its risks. However, the Ministry of Magic heavily regulates the use of time turners, because altering the past can have serious consequences. The notion of time and its manipulation is a recurring theme in the series, especially as Harry and his friends face more challenges and come to terms with their own pasts. Let's not forget about Quidditch the fast-paced, exhilarating sport played on broomsticks. Quidditch is played by 4 balls, 7 players, and a variety of rules that make it as intense as any real-world sport. Each team consists of 3 chasers, 2 beaters, 1 keeper, and 1 seeker. Harry Potter, of course, was the seeker for the Gryffindor team, and his skills in catching the golden snitch earned him a reputation as one of the best young players in the school. Quidditch was not just a sport at home. It was a central part of student life, with house rivalries and school pride on the line every match. In fact, Quidditch matches often became the setting for some of the most exciting and tense moments in the books. But it also represented something bigger, the fierce loyalty to one's house, and the way sports can bring people together, even in times of war and conflict. You can't discuss the world of Harry Potter without mentioning the famous magical creatures that inhabit it. From hippogriffs and thestrals to house elves and dragons, magical creatures are integral to the story. The hippogriff Buckbeak was one of the first creatures Harry encountered that tested his courage. To approach and ride a hippogriff, you had to bow first, showing respect to the creature. This idea of respect, whether for magical beings or for others, becomes a running theme throughout the series. Similarly, thestrals, which can only be seen by those who've witnessed death, symbolize a more somber, introspective look at life and loss. Despite their eerie appearance, thestrals are gentle and wise, much like the characters who are able to see them. Diverse also the iconic creature, the basilisk, found deep within the Chamber of Secrets. This enormous serpent, with eyes that can kill with a single glance, was controlled by Tom Riddle and became one of the most terrifying creatures in the wizarding world. The idea of controlling such a dangerous beast and using it for personal gain is a reflection of Voldemort's own twisted desire for power and control. Each magical creature in the Harry Potter series carries its own lesson and connection to the themes of the books. Whether it's about loyalty, bravery, death, or respect, these creatures are far more than just fantasy. Elements they represent deeper truths about the world we live in. And as we come to the end of our journey through the magical world of Harry Potter, it's clear that the series isn't just about wizards, witches. It's about friendship, love, sacrifice, and the fight between good and evil. The magic in Harry Potter may have captivated millions, but it's the deeper messages about humanity that continue to inspire readers and viewers of all ages. The battle between good and evil is central to the Harry Potter series, and it's represented not only in the conflict between Harry and Voldemort, but also in the choices made by many of the characters. One of the most compelling parts of the story is how characters who start on different sides of the moral spectrum can change and grow. A perfect example of this is Severus Snape, who was initially introduced as a seemingly cold, antagonistic teacher at Hogwarts. Snape's complicated past, his deep love for Lily Potter, and his eventual sacrifice for Harry's safety reveal a story of redemption that is truly heartbreaking. Snape's character arc challenges us to question how we judge others, and reminds us that even those who appear evil may have been shaped by their experiences. Harry's relationship with Snape is one of the most intense and layered dynamics in the series. From the very beginning, Harry despises Snape, seeing him as a villain. But over time, repute about Snape's loyalty and sacrifices is revealed. This adds a layer of complexity to the theme of how appearances can deceive. Snape's ultimate act of heroism is one of the most powerful moments in the series, proving that even the most misunderstood characters can play a crucial role in the battle for good. Another character who defies expectations is Draco Malfoy. At the start of the series, Draco is portrayed as a bully and an antagonist to Harry. But as the story progresses, Draco's own internal struggle becomes clear, especially during the events of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, when he is forced to make an impossible decision about his allegiance. It's clear that Draco's journey is about finding his own path. In the end, his refusal to join Voldemort and his decision to protect his family is an act of courage, showing that bravery isn't always about fighting on the front lines, it's about making the right choice in the face of fear and pressure. One of the most touching and heartwarming elements of the series is the friendship between Harry, Ron, and Hermione. These three characters form the backbone of the story, and their unwavering loyalty to each other is what keeps them going through the darkest times. Hermione Granger, with her sharp intellect and fierce determination, is a brilliant character who proves time and again that brains are just as valuable as brawn. She often serves as the moral compass for the trio, reminding Harry and Ron to think before acting and to value their education. Hermione's strong sense of justice and equality also leads her to found SPEW, the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, which reflects her compassionate nature. Ron Weasley, on the other hand, is the heart of the group. While he may not have the same natural talent or academic success as Hermione or Harry, Ron's loyalty, humor, and bravery are undeniable. He's often the one who lightens the mood with his jokes, even when things seem at their darkest. Ron's ability to stand by his friends, even when he feels inadequate, is a testament to his character. He may have moments of insecurity, but he proves time and again that true courage comes from the ability to keep going even when you're unsure of yourself. Of course, we can't forget about Ginny Weasley, Ron's younger sister, who evolves into a formidable witch in her own right. Ginny starts off as a shy, timid girl with a crush on Harry, but grows into a strong, independent character. Her role in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince as a fierce Quidditch player and her eventual relationship with Harry shows how far she's come from her younger, more self-conscious days. Ginny is a perfect example of how the series empowers its female characters, giving them agency and strength in their own right. Speaking of strong female characters, another notable figure is Minerva McGonagall, the strict yet caring Transfiguration professor. McGonagall is the epitome of what it means to be a good leader. Her fierce loyalty to Hogwarts and her students, coupled with her stern discipline, make her one of the most respected characters in the wizarding world. Despite the dangers she faces, McGonagall never falters in her role as both a teacher and a protector. She's also one of the few characters who stands up to Voldemort, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. And then there's the ever-present, ever-mischievous Fred and George Weasley, the twin brothers who turn their knack for pranks and jokes into a successful business venture in Their comic relief throughout the series lightens the mood, especially during the darker times. But their eventual sacrifices highlight their courage and devotion to their family and friends. Fred's tragic death in the Deathly Hallows is one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the series, emphasizing the theme of loss and the cost of war. Another notable aspect of the Harry Potter series is the role of prophecy. The prophecy about Harry and Voldemort, idea that neither can live while the other survives, sets the stage for the entire conflict of the series. But what makes the prophecy so intriguing is the idea that it is shaped not just by fate, but by the choices people make. The prophecy could have gone either way. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that Harry would defeat Voldemort. And this theme of choice and destiny is explored throughout the series. This is why Harry's decision to sacrifice himself in the final battle is so powerful. He chooses to face his death, knowing it's the only way to end the cycle of violence and ensure that Voldemort is defeated for good. The theme of family is also central to the series, with Harry discovering the power of familial love in various forms. From the protective love of his mother, Lily Potter, to the loyalty of the Weasley family, love is portrayed as the strongest magic of all. The way Harry learns to embrace the love of his friends and family, despite his tragic past, is one of the most powerful journeys in the series. The connection between Harry and his parents, especially through the memories of his mother's sacrifice, becomes a source of strength for him in the final battle. And finally, we must mention the lasting impact of the Harry Potter series on the world. The books have inspired an entire generation, bringing people together from all walks of life. The magic of Harry Potter lives on through fan conventions, merchandise, films, theme parks, and more. But perhaps the greatest impact is the way the series has encouraged millions to embrace the values of friendship, bravery, loyalty, and the fight for what is right. From Harry's humble beginnings as an orphaned child in a cupboard under the stairs, to his final confrontation with the Dark Lord, the journey of Harry Potter is a story of growth, resilience, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. It teaches us that the smallest among us can make the biggest difference. That love is the most powerful force in the universe, and that we all have the ability to shape our destinies, no matter where we come from or what we face. The battle between good and evil is central to the Harry Potter series, and it's represented not only in the conflict between Harry and Voldemort, but also in the choices made by many of the characters. One of the most compelling parts of the story is how characters who start on different sides of the moral spectrum can change and grow. A perfect example of this is Severus Snape, who was initially introduced as a seemingly cold, antagonistic teacher at Hogwarts. Snape's complicated past, his deep love for Lily Potter, and his eventual sacrifice for Harry's safety reveal a story of redemption that is truly heartbreaking. Snape's character arc challenges us to question how we judge others, and reminds us that even those who appear evil may have been shaped by their experiences. Harry's relationship with Snape is one of the most intense and layered dynamics in the series. From the very beginning, Harry despises Snape, seeing him as a villain. But over time, repute about Snape's loyalty and sacrifices is revealed. This adds a layer of complexity to the theme of how appearances can deceive. Snape's ultimate act of heroism is one of the most powerful moments in the series, proving that even the most misunderstood characters can play a crucial role in the battle for good. Another character who defies expectations is Draco Malfoy. At the start of the series, Draco is portrayed as a bully and an antagonist to Harry. But as the story progresses, Draco's own internal struggle becomes clear, especially during the events of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, when he is forced to make an impossible decision about his allegiance. It's clear that Draco's journey is about finding his own path. In the end, his refusal to join Voldemort and his decision to protect his family is an act of courage, showing that bravery isn't always about fighting on the front lines, it's about making the right choice in the face of fear and pressure. One of the most touching and heartwarming elements of the series is the friendship between Harry, Ron, and Hermione. These three characters form the backbone of the story, and their unwavering loyalty to each other is what keeps them going through the darkest times. Hermione Granger, with her sharp intellect and fierce determination, is a brilliant character who proves time and again that brains are just as valuable as brawn. She often serves as the moral compass for the trio, reminding Harry and Ron to think before acting and to value their education. Hermione's strong sense of justice and equality also leads her to found SPEW, the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, which reflects her compassionate nature. Ron Weasley, on the other hand, is the heart of the group. While he may not have the same natural talent or academic success as Hermione or Harry, Ron's loyalty, humor, and bravery are undeniable. He's often the one who lightens the mood with his jokes, even when things seem at their darkest. Ron's ability to stand by his friends, even when he feels inadequate, is a testament to his character. He may have moments of insecurity, but he proves time and again that true courage comes from the ability to keep going, even when you're unsure of yourself. Of course, we can't forget about Ginny Weasley, Ron's younger sister, who evolves into a formidable witch in her own right. Ginny starts off as a shy, timid girl with a crush on Harry, but grows into a strong, independent character. Her role in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince as a fierce Quidditch player and her eventual relationship with Harry shows how far she's come from her younger, more self-conscious days. Ginny is a perfect example of how the series empowers its female characters, giving them agency and strength in their own right. Speaking of strong female characters, another notable figure is Minerva McGonagall, the strict yet caring Transfiguration professor. McGonagall is the epitome of what it means to be a good leader. Her fierce loyalty to Hogwarts and her students, coupled with her stern discipline, make her one of the most respected characters in the wizarding world. Despite the dangers she faces, McGonagall never falters in her role as both a teacher and a protector. She's also one of the few characters who stands up to Voldemort. And then there's the ever-present, ever-mischievous Fred and George Weasley, the twin brothers who turn their knack for pranks and jokes into a successful business venture in Weasley's Wizard. To her, their comic relief throughout the series lightens the mood, especially during the darker times. But their eventual sacrifices highlight their courage and devotion to their family and friends. Fred's tragic death in the Deathly Hallows is one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the series, emphasizing the theme of loss and the cost of war. Another notable aspect of the Harry Potter series is the role of prophecy. The prophecy about Harry and Voldemort. Idea that neither can live while the other survives sets the stage for the entire conflict of the series. But what makes the prophecy so intriguing is the idea that it is shaped not just by fate, but by the choices people make. The prophecy could have gone either way. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that Harry would defeat Voldemort, and this theme of choice and destiny is explored throughout the series. This is why Harry's decision to sacrifice himself in the final battle is so powerful. He chooses to face his death, knowing it's the only way to end the cycle of violence and ensure that Voldemort is defeated for good. The theme of family is also central to the series, with Harry discovering the power of familial love in various forms. From the protective love of his mother, Lily Potter, to the loyalty of the Weasley family, love is portrayed as the strongest magic of all. The way Harry learns to embrace the love of his friends and family, despite his tragic past, is one of the most powerful journeys in the series. The connection between Harry and his parents, especially through the memories of his mother's sacrifice, becomes a source of strength for him in the final battle. And finally, we must mention the lasting impact of the Harry Potter series on the world. The books have inspired an entire generation, bringing people together from all walks of life. The magic of Harry Potter lives on through fan conventions, merchandise, films, theme parks, and more. But perhaps the greatest impact is the way the series has encouraged millions to embrace the values of friendship, bravery, loyalty, and the fight for what is right. From Harry's humble beginnings as an orphaned child in a cupboard under the stairs, to his final confrontation with the Dark Lord, the journey of Harry Potter is a story of growth, resilience, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. It teaches us that the smallest among us can make the biggest difference. That love is the most powerful force in the universe, and that we all have the ability to shape our destinies, no matter where we come from or what we face. As we dive deeper into the world of Harry Potter, one thing becomes clear. The magical world is rich with symbolism, often pulling from real-world myths, legends, and even literary history. For example, the character of Nagini, Voldemort's loyal snake, is inspired by Rip. In many cultures, snakes are symbols of transformation and immortality. Nagini, being a central part of Voldemort's Horcrux plan, is more than just a pet. She represents his twisted desire for eternal life and the lengths he's willing to go to attain it. The relationship between Voldemort and Nagini also shows how Voldemort sees the world through a lens of manipulation and control, even over the creatures that serve him. On a lighter note, another fun fact is about the Hogwarts house ghosts. Each ghost represents not only the house's values, but also the quirky aspects of each house's personality. For example, Nearly Headless Nick, B, is both humorous and a little tragic, as he was nearly executed but somehow lived on in a state of awkwardness. He's a symbol of perseverance, not letting his unfortunate death stop him from being a valued part of. Then there's the Grey Lady, Helena Ravenclaw, who fled with her mother's diadem and became a tragic figure due to her regret over abandoning her mother. Her ghost, though sorrowful, also represents the wisdom and the quest for knowledge that Ravenclaws cherish. Did you know that the Patronus charm is one of the most difficult and powerful spells in the wizarding world? A Patronus is a magical manifestation of a witch or wizard's most positive emotions. And only the purest of thoughts can conjure one. The form that a Patronus takes reflects the caster's inner being. For example, Harry's Patronus takes the form of a stag, an animal that symbolizes strength, protection, and his connection to his father. But what's fascinating is that the idea of a Patronus as a form of protection from Dementors was based on a very real fear anxiety. J.K. Rowling used Dementors as a metaphor for depression and how negative feelings can overwhelm you. B. Patronus, in contrast, becomes a tool for fighting back against those dark emotions, a symbol of hope and the ability to find light even in the darkest of times. Let's talk about Wands, one of the most iconic magical objects in the series. Did you know that each wand is unique and has its own core? Harry's wand, for example, has a phoenix feather core, which is deeply symbolic. The phoenix is a creature of rebirth, constantly rising from its ashes, and this ties into Harry's own story of resurrection and survival. In fact, Harry's wand shares its core with Voldemort's wand, a fact that becomes crucial to their final showdown. This connection between the two wands is known as the twin core, and it's what causes the phenomenon where the wands are unable to truly fight each other, leading to the Prior Incantatem effect in their battle. Another interesting bit of trivia about wands is that each wand maker in the wizarding world is highly skilled and has their own methods for crafting wands. For example, Ollivanders, the famous wand maker in Diagon Alley, is known for his deep knowledge of magical properties and how the perfect wand chooses its wizard. In Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, when Harry goes to purchase his wand, he's told that the wand chooses the wizard. This line holds a lot of meaning in the series, as it implies that each witch or wizard has a unique destiny, one that is shaped by the magical world around them. One character who is central to understanding the magical world's most difficult subjects is Professor Binns, the ghostly history of magic teacher. While his lessons are often long-winded and boring, Binns is crucial for the study of Hogwarts past. He's also the perfect example of what happens when a witch or wizard becomes so obsessed with their work that they neglect their physical well-being, actually died in his sleep and didn't realize he was dead. His ghost continues teaching at Hogwarts, showing how history can become detached and impersonal over time. It's a subtle commentary on how the study of history is often done without considering the human side of the stories, a theme that is explored more deeply as the students learn about the rise of Voldemort and the true history of magic. Speaking of Voldemort's history, his backstory is one of the most complex in the series. Born as Tom Riddle, he was the product of a violent and bitter union between his mother, Bai Meripagaunt, and his father, a wealthy muggle named Tom Riddle Sr. The tragic nature of his birth, his mother's death during childbirth, and his father's abandonment sets the stage for the Dark Lord's hatred of muggles and his obsessive quest for power. Pure, his fascination with blood purity, which grows throughout his youth, leads to his eventual descent into darkness and his transformation into fact that Voldemort's entire life is driven by a need for immortality, control, and revenge, highlights how his character is defined by trauma and loss. Speaking of trauma, Harry's life is also marked by his losses, but it's how he deals with them that makes him a hero. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry finally learns the full truth of the prophecy that he must face Voldemort and destroy him, or die in the process. This knowledge weighs heavily on Harry, but what makes him different from Voldemort is his willingness to face his death, knowing that his sacrifice is what will ultimately break the cycle of hate and violence. In the end, it's Harry's ability to love, to make choices driven by his sense of justice and compassion that ultimately leads to his victory. This is the true message of the series, that love and self-sacrifice are more powerful than any curse or spell. Of course, we can't overlook the magic behind the creation of the wizarding world. Many of the spells and magical creatures in the series are inspired by ancient folklore and legend. For example, the concept of the Horcrux, which is a dark and forbidden form of magic, has roots in various historical legends about immortality and the manipulation of souls. Similarly, magical creatures like the Phoenix, the Basilisk, and the Hippogriff draw on deep-seated mythology. The Phoenix, for example, is a symbol of resurrection and rebirth found in various cultures. While the basilisk is often associated with death and destruction, much like the creatures in ancient myths, the significance of magical creatures goes beyond their appearances. They also embody deeper themes in the books. The Thestrals, which can only be seen by those who've witnessed death, are perhaps the most poignant example. Do you represent how we confront loss and the idea that death, while tragic, is an inevitable part of life? The Thestrals teach Harry and his friends to embrace death and the responsibility that comes with it. They're also a symbol of the harsh reality that not everyone can understand the depths of grief, and sometimes we must face our fears alone. Before we finish, here's something that all true fans of the Harry Potter series will appreciate. The legacy of the Harry Potter books is still alive and well. New generations of readers and viewers continue to fall in love with the Wizarding World. The magic lives on through the fan theories, the fan fiction, and the incredible world building that continues to grow. The impact of Harry Potter is truly timeless, and there's always something new to learn, whether it's through revisiting the books or exploring the deeper meanings within them. And if you've enjoyed these magical facts, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Every like helps bring more magical content your way, and it helps us continue exploring the Wizarding World together.
Oh, you're still awake? I thought you might be. Some stories only open when the world is especially quiet, when the last log has fallen in the fireplace, and the owls have stopped mid-flight to listen. This is one of those stories. It's not loud. It doesn't begin with spells or duels or mystery letters carried by storm-swept owls. No, it begins in a room most students never remember waking up in. And with a breeze that shouldn't have been there at all. Juniper Blythe was a third-year Gryffindor with soft hands and a tendency to overthink simple spells. She was known for getting along with ghosts, not for dueling trophies. Her essays were long, her wand work careful, her eyes always slightly lost in thought. People liked her, but never noticed her. And maybe that's why the room found her. She woke in the hour before dawn. That thin sliver of time where dreams blur into the pale shape of furniture and breath turns to frost in the air. Something had stirred the curtains beside her bed. The windows didn't usually open this late in winter. But tonight, there was a breeze. She sat up, rubbing her eyes, her breath visible in the dimness. One of the dormitory windows had moved. It wasn't supposed to be there. The architecture of Gryffindor Tower was stubborn. It didn't make new windows. The old stone didn't shift. And yet, there it was. Oval-shaped. Frost-edged. A narrow brass handle catching a sliver of moonlight. But what truly pulled Juniper from her bed was not the window itself. It was the view. Because beyond the glass wasn't the snowy sprawl of the Hogwarts grounds. It was a hallway she had never seen before. Juniper approached slowly, barefoot, her nightrobe trailing behind her like the end of a thought. The corridor outside the window was long and gently sloped, lit by floating candles. The walls were lined in books, but not the dry kind. These books glowed softly, as if remembering stories more than simply storing them. The air beyond shimmered faintly, like dreamlight off water. She hesitated. Then, with the kind of bravery Gryffindors are known for, not the loud kind, but the curious kind, she placed her hands on the windowsill and climbed through. The moment her feet touched the floor, the window closed behind her with a whisper. Gone. The corridor curved gently, like a path carved not by builders but by wandering footsteps. At its end stood a single door. Oak. Rounded. With a brass plaque just above the knob. The room with the wandering window. Juniper tilted her head. Something inside her recognized the name, but not from books. It rang with the same warmth as an old tune hummed by someone you barely remember, but who once loved you deeply. She touched the knob. It turned easily. And the door opened. The room inside was not large. But it felt endless. The ceiling arched high above, disappearing into a soft haze of candlelight and stars painted on midnight blue plaster. The walls rearranged themselves when she blinked, one moment, lined in bookshelves, the next, laid in quilts and old portraits that whispered to each other when she passed. A fireplace glowed with a steady blue flame that gave off no heat, only comfort. There was a table at the center. Upon it, a quill. Ink. And an open journal. Juniper stepped closer. The journal was already full of writing. Not neat. But familiar. She read the first few lines, and her breath caught. They were her words. Not written recently, but thoughts she'd once had. Things she never told anyone. Sometimes I wonder if my shadow is louder than my voice. When I cast Lumos in the dark, it always feels like I'm asking for company, not just light. Juniper touched the page. The ink shimmered. And the chair behind her scooted back gently. Inviting. She Saturday. There was no sense of time here. No ticking clocks. No sun to rise. Just the soft crackle of the fire. And the feeling that the room was breathing. Slowly, deeply, alongside her. She turned the page. More entries. Written in different styles. Some in looping script. Others sharp and quick. All of them carried pieces of her, not memories exactly, but echoes. The kind of thoughts that flutter through your head just before sleep. Or just after heartbreak. One name repeated through the entries. A boy. But every time his name appeared, it had been scribbled out. She turned the page again. This one was blank, except for a single line. You'll remember him when the room is ready. Juniper's heart fluttered. She stood and began to explore. A narrow hallway led off from the main room. Small doorways branched off to either side, like branches from a quiet tree. Each room was different. In one, she found a music box playing a tune she used to hum as a child, one she thought she had made up. The box had her initials carved into the bottom. In another, a mirror showed her not as she was, but as she could be. Taller, sure-footed, her wand steady in hand. Confident not from pride, but from having remembered who she was meant to be. In the last room, a window opened onto a memory. She was standing in the library, years ago, just after arriving at Hogwarts. Alone. Lost. A boy had approached and offered her a quill. They had laughed about nothing at all. His face was blurred. But the warmth in her chest remained. The quill. The same one that now rested on the table in the main room. She walked back. Sat down again. And this time, the fire crackled a little louder. She looked around once more. The room had changed again. The walls now lined with shelves of items she didn't recall ever owning, but each sparked a feeling. A seashell. A string of beads. A torn page from a children's book. The room whispered. You are more than the spells you cast. You are the things you remember when you feel forgotten. Juniper closed her eyes. And breathed in. The fire had changed. Not brighter. Not hotter. Just deeper. It now burned with layers, threads of lavender, silver, and faint rose gold coiling upward like ribboned smoke. When Juniper looked too long at the flames, she began to see shapes. Not quite images. More like impressions. Of places she might have been. Or never left. The journal still waited before her, pages fluttering in a wind that didn't stir her hair. She lifted the quill. It fit her hand as though it had been carved for it, familiar, warm, alive in a quiet way. She turned to the next blank page. And wrote. There was a boy. I don't remember his face. But he made the quiet feel safe. The ink shimmered gold. And the room replied. Not with words. With motion. A door appeared. Not a hallway door, not like the others. This one was carved into the side of the fireplace, hidden until now. Its surface was marked with tiny runes that moved like ants. Crawling. Rearranging. Pausing only when she stepped close. Juniper placed a hand on the knob. The door opened inward. A staircase spiraled down, lit by nothing. But she wasn't afraid. The room wouldn't hurt her. She descended. Each step echoed like a heartbeat. And at the bottom, a room waited. Circular. Small. Lit by dozens of floating candles that cast their light not outward, but inward, as if the walls themselves were remembering. Photographs hovered in the air. But not photographs like the ones in the castle's galleries. These moved only when she wasn't watching. Each one captured a piece of her she'd lost. Her first night in the great hall, wide-eyed, feeling invisible. Her first successful spell, a hovering feather, her smile trembling. A stolen moment beneath the Ravenclaw Tower where she'd once gone to cry, even though she wasn't in that house. Each image flickered as she approached, then gently faded. Except one. One photo glowed brighter. It showed her and the boy. They were sitting together on a bench beneath the astronomy tower, mid-laughter. Her hand on his. Not romantic. Not performative. Just there. A gesture of grounding. The name still didn't come. But this time, the boy's face almost sharpened. Brown hair. Kind eyes. A freckle near his lip. It hurt, in that aching beautiful way. She reached out to touch the photo. And it dissolved. But the warmth remained. When she climbed back up the stairs, the journal had written a line on its own. His name will come when your heart remembers more than your mind. The quill hovered just above the parchment. Waiting. She sat down again. Wrote. The room is remembering me. The ink pulsed softly. A soft breeze stirred the air. And then? A knock. Soft. From the main door, the one she'd entered through. She stood slowly. Opened it. And there he was. Not fully there. Not solid. But real enough. The boy from the photographs. Translucent. A little flickering at the edges, like candlelight caught in wind. He looked at her with that smile, and said quietly, I was starting to worry you wouldn't come back. Juniper stepped into the doorway, heart blooming. I forgot you. He nodded. Not sad. Just knowing. That's what the room's for. They stood in the threshold for a long time. Then he held out his hand. And she took it. Together, they stepped back inside. The room shifted again, walls unfolding, ceiling widening. It became a constellation chamber. Stars drifted across the darkened dome above. Each one pulsed to the rhythm of something just behind thought. The boy led her to a chair by the fire. They sat, side by side. Juniper opened the journal. The next page was already filled in the boy's handwriting. We used to meet here in dreams. You stopped coming. The room waited. Juniper turned to him. Why did I stop? He looked into the fire. Because growing up can make you believe you imagined magic like this. She was quiet for a long time. Then wrote, I believe again. The room hummed softly. The walls glowed. And the return door appeared. The return door shimmered faintly in the far wall of the room, newly revealed behind a curtain of flickering tapestries. It wasn't grand or glowing. It was small, wooden, curved at the top like a cottage gate. A silver handle, polished by use. The kind of door that didn't shout departure, but whispered now that you remember. Juniper didn't move right away. Neither did the boy. They sat in the hush, letting the fire tell its last quiet stories through the blue and lavender flames. Shadows of old selves danced gently along the walls, flickers of a younger Juniper playing with floating candles, sketching spells in midair, laughing at nothing. The boy turned toward her. His eyes weren't sad, but soft with something even quieter. You don't have to go, he said. I think I do. He nodded. That's the right answer. She rose slowly and walked to the door. It wasn't locked. But it didn't open, not yet. A tiny brass plate above the handle shimmered to life. To pass through, you must choose what to carry. The journal sat on the desk behind her. Still open. Still half written. The spiral-marked stone waited in her robe pocket, warm with memory. But it was the quill, soft, starlight-tipped, humming faintly, that called to her hand. She lifted it. And the door unlatched. The boy stood behind her now. I don't remember your name, she whispered. He smiled. That's all right. The room will remember for both of us. Then, gently, he placed his hand over hers on the doorknob. And together, they turned it. The room didn't vanish. It folded. Like a story returning to its first page. And she stepped through. The morning light in Gryffindor Tower was soft and grey. Juniper sat upright in bed, breath caught in her chest, not startled, but stilled. Like someone listening for the last line of a lullaby. The other girls slept soundly. The frost on the window shimmered. She looked. The strange oval window was gone. Only the normal, square-cut stone frame remained, showing the castle grounds as they always were, quiet, snow-lined, undisturbed. Had it been a dream? She turned. And there, resting on her bedside table, was the quill. Still warm. Still soft. And beneath it, a slip of parchment. Just 6 words. When the stars change, return again. For the rest of that day, Juniper walked a little slower. Looked a little longer at shadows. Smiled softly at corridors she used to ignore. Something in her had opened. Not loudly, but completely. And late that night, when she lit her wand and watched the glow pool into her palm, she whispered, "Lumos." Not as a spell, but as a promise. And the light stayed a little longer than it should have. As if the room was still listening. That was the story of the room with the wandering window. It might visit you too, one night, quietly, kindly, when your heart feels just a little too forgotten and your memories want to breathe. All it asks in return is that you write something down when you wake. Even just your name. So it remembers. And the door can find you again. And just like that, our stories come to rest. You've walked the halls of the night library where books breathe in candlelight. You've watched Wandlore unfold in the hush of Nocturne Alley. You've swum deep into Black Lake dreams and flown along the spiral of stars on the Owling Path. And if you stayed with me even now, perhaps you stepped into the room with the wandering window, too. Most wizards don't make it this far. So if you're still here, truly still here, thank you. That's magic, right there. If this journey helped you drift off, or made your night just a little quieter, do me a soft favor, and drop a like on the video. It helps this dream reach more quiet wanderers like you. And if you want more, there is more. I have a whole world of whispered stories on the channel, including a dreamy, diary-style series told from the heart of Harry Potter's own journal. Each one is a doorway waiting to be opened. You can start anywhere. The rooms remember. The owls are still circling. And somewhere, a book just turned its first page. Sleep well, traveler. Until next time.